When the champ loses his belt, what does it mean? Is he the champ? Did the hardware make him the champ? What does that crossroads look like? That's what we're going to assess here today. Israel Adesanya, for the first time in a long time, folks, does not have a title fight on deck, and he's fighting a hungry prospect, Nassourdine Imavov. Folks, joining me, as always, the Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. Man, this is uncharted territory. We've been a fan of the last style bender for a long time, and to see him now being the 35-year-old older dog, that the young dude is coming up, it's an interesting path, man. What do you think of this whole entire event that we got here?
Derick, it's exciting, brother. The first time in 6 years Izzy hasn't had a title fight, and he's going up against one of the young upcoming killers out there that is Nassourdine Imavov, man. Seeing how the sport of MMA has evolved over this last 10 plus years, however long we've been watching, man, is interesting to see, and it's good to see that this sport is still growing in that same direction.
And hey, man, it's interesting because even though Imavov, I'm pretty sure his nationality is French, like that's what he represents. For some reason, I don't know why, but I feel like it feels like a home game for Imavov, and like Adesanya is almost on like a road game. I don't know. Do you get that sentiment, or am I tripping on here?
I do get that sentiment, Derick. It feels like a lot of people cross-culturally are more so rooting for Imavov, man. Izzy catches a lot of heat out there. I don't know.
We're going to talk about it a little bit more in depth because I do think, unfortunately, folks, listen, we love MMA, we love sports, but there's favoritism, there's bias, depending on where you go, and you got to factor that into the sport. We're going to break all of that down. Before we do it, though, folks, I know it's been a week off since the last UFC event. We need to break down the recap, UFC 311. And AJ, I'm happy because we got some good news to roll off of, my friend. Consensus picks. Let's start there, brother. 3-0 for UFC 311. Let's not forget the three big hitters: Islam Makhachev, and still Merab Dvalishvili, and still, and Reiner de Ritter, and still right there. No misses across the board. So that's the first perfect week of the year. Expect many more. But AJ, brother, you got the job done, man. You won the week 4-0, moved to 8-2, 80% clip so far. So you're on a hot streak. And our contentious pick, right? It was the Jamal Hill versus Yuri Prochazka fight. Yuri looked good. AJ, give us a quick word on that one. Yuri looked good, and Jamal, I think his stock drops even more, but I still don't think that this is the end for him. I still think he's in a buy low spot. Yuri he was the better man that night. What'd you think?
Better man that night, Derick. There was a lot of things that Jamal Hill was doing, looking really good in there. It just happened to be he's the one that got caught in the exchanges. If Jamal would have landed the right, he would have been looking a lot better in there. There's some times where he hurt Yuri, but yeah, that's how the game goes, brother.
Hey, man, listen, it just goes to show that the light heavyweight division is as alive as ever, because now you got a couple different former champs, plus the regular champ, plus dudes who are in the running. We'll see what Ankalaev does. That'll be interesting. Folks, I finished 3-1. Again, I did pick Jamal Hill on that one, but AJ, it doesn't always end well. We start with a good note. Let's move to the props. 0-2. That's for both of us. That is not only our record on the year, but that's what we went at the event. I'll start off with mine. AJ, call it a bad break. I want your honest opinion. Almeida versus Spivak, I said, ends in a submission plus 110. And the dudes who are always club and sub like Almeida decided, no sub, I'm just going to club and knock him out. Why even bother? I felt like the bet was there. Like the thought process was there. We just came up short. What'd you think?
I agree with you, Derick. The logic was sound on that one, especially with Almeida winning the fight. You think the best way he's going to do it, club to a sub? Unfortunately not, man. And speaking about unfortunate, Derick, my prop rock right here. I'm glad you had sound logic, because looking at the fight and how it went down and how the fighters went into with my prop, Holland versus de Ritter over 1.5, I felt a little ashamed right there, brother. I had to eat some crow. I expected a slow start to the fight, and Reiner de Ritter just absolutely put it to Kevin Holland. He said he was going to do it. He ended up doing it. It was a rough one for me.
Remember, folks, I did say this fight right here could end in 60 seconds, and it's specifically not because of Kevin Holland can't defend a takedown, but at 185 pounds. The size difference, I think, is just too much. So he got taken down, he got submitted, it was what it was. And the key takeaway that we have for the event here is something that we should just think about for future knowledge, right? All four undefeated fighters who entered that card all got their first loss on their career. So their O has been snatched. Clayton Carpenter, Rinya Nakamura, Peyton Talbot, which, man, should have maybe seen that one come a mile away, closing at like a minus 1,400 against Raoni Barcelos. And then finally, Umar Nurmagomedov, one of the Nurmagomedovs, against Merab. Raoni Barcelos earns dog of the night here, AJ. We got to get a sound graphic for that one, plus 750 dog. You're biting yourself for that one, right? We should have bet that all day.
All day, Derick. Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about a dog? He wasn't even that. He was starving, right? Raoni Barcelos was looking to make a mark going forward. Absolutely put everybody on notice. I don't think we're going to see plus 1,400 for Peyton Talbot in quite a while.
We're not, but folks, it's like, man, there's times where you can capitalize, and I bet against him a couple times where he was able to get the job done. Giannis Gamori, for an example, I thought that was going to be the time he gets exposed, but you shouldn't even say exposed. It was an incorrect line. It's as simple as that one. But folks, that's your UFC 311 recap right there. We're not talking about that though. We started with UFC Saudi Arabia. That's the event. That's what we're talking about, and we got a bet sheet for you. So before we jump into that, folks, if you're not subscribed yet, definitely subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. And AJ, we got 5 fights on the main card. 4 consensus picks, brother, and I'm gonna go ahead and line them up, and you give us the word as always. Israel Adesanya, the lifestyle bender, MVP, Michael Venom Page, Sergey Pavlovich, and we're rolling with Said Nurmagomedov this go around. AJ, really quickly before you give us our word about the consensus picks, normally when we're both locked in on a dog where I thought I was gonna be on a hill, I get a little nervous. We lucked out last week. I shouldn't say we lucked out. We just had the correct pick last week with Marab, but you're making me a little nervous, brother. Talk to us about the consensus picks.
Yes, brother. It is very interesting to when I'm going into a week, right? Putting my picks down, locking them in, and then I see the response come back, and we're pretty similar across the board. It always is interesting because it makes me think, okay, we're seeing the same things, we're seeing the same patterns develop. But unfortunately, patterns are meant to be broken when it comes down to fight night, and it does have me a little worried. But for the theme this week, Derick, the word this week is prowess, right? All the ones we're talking about, all the consensus pick, if they're able to go in there, show their skill set, show their prowess and veteranship in the octagon, they're going to come away with that dub.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much got vets across the board, UFC vets across the board right here. The one fight that will be really, really interesting in my eyes is that Pavlovich fight, man. Him and Rosenstruik. That's got divisional implications for real. So yeah, the only lone contentious pick that we have was actually a late addition to the card, folks. So if you haven't seen the most recent update, Mohamed Naimov and I never know how to pronounce it. Can Offley, right? That got bumped down to the prelims. The Smile Killer for Ziam and Mike Davis, your favorite fighter's favorite prospect. Yeah, they're on the card. AJ, I'm rolling with Mike Davis. The dude's too good. He's too underrated. People are asleep on him. I love the Smile Killer, and you know I bet Smile Killer versus Matt Favola the last one, but I got to roll with Mike Davis right here. Talk to us about Ziam.
Ziam, man, it's hard to doubt him anymore, especially when somebody's going to be coming at him full pressure. Ziam has all the tools, and he's shown that he's even sharpening those tools even more to be able to get the job done. This dude's a killer, not just a Smile Killer.
Not just a Smile Killer. All right, you heard that, folks. All right, folks, listen, hey, that was all of the short stuff. Now we got some business to attend to. And AJ, we don't mince words over here. We jump straight into it. So time for your UFC Saudi Arabia main card. Let's break it down.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Israel Adesanya, Nassourdine Imavov, man. So again, when the champ loses his belt and he's in a rare opportunity, it could be one of those like culture shock moments. Normally 3 rounds, I gotta work quick now. I got a young hungry dude trying to make his name off me. But this is different, man. This is a main event. 5 rounds, style bender. The only thing that's missing is there's no belt up for grabs. So I don't feel like this is too much different. And there's even one better opportunity here. Depending on the game plan of Nassourdine Imavov, you might not have to defend takedowns for 25 straight minutes. This could be a pure kickboxing match. What do you think?
Absolutely, Derick. And I think the most comfortable way that Nassourdine has at least shown in his history is with that standing and trading, is with a technical fight going forward. And unfortunately, he's matched up against a technician, right, in Izzy that we've seen, just master classes against people through all different skill sets. He can falter with some pressure going into that. So I see Nassourdine wanting to lead the fight, wanting to put that pressure on, kind of like a Sean Strickland style of fight that he had against Izzy, either win a decision or look for that solid little KO combo.
I think the pressure, man, I think that's going to be the key thing in this matchup. I think that's the number one thing that we need to talk about here. Veteranship, none of that stuff really matters. What matters is Israel Adesanya is 35 years old. Could be slowing down. Could be. You saw that fight against Derick, right? And listen, the stand-up is still phenomenal. But my question is, when we get into those championship rounds, one thing that we have seen, and you can't deny this, one thing that we have seen is Nassourdine Imavov, who doesn't have a ton of this like 5-round championship experience or anything like that, right? But the man has been shown, the gas tank has been getting a little bit better. Adesanya, on the other hand, I just start to see a little bit of a slowdown here where if the right pressure is applied, can be some real problems. But that would mean Imavov has to be foot on the gas, 25 minutes, get him up in the clinch, and don't give him room to breathe, because we know where Stylebender is at his most dangerous. It's at that kicking range. It's at that setup, feint, calf kicks, all that. How does Imavov use that pressure to stop it?
Cut off the cage. I mean, make Izzy uncomfortable. We've seen it in his last couple of fights. He'll get that 1,000-yard stare, right? Eyes are big. He's instantly looking for the guy to shoot, and he's nervous about it, where we're not seeing Izzy in his flow state, where he's at range, kicking, striking, doing all the stuff he's good at. If Imavov is able to cut off the cage consistently and then just keep Izzy just locked down in one corner or the other, right? Just keep him there. I think that's going to do, work miles for Nassourdine throughout the entire fight, especially if it starts off in the first round, you're getting to the third, you see Izzy expecting that to be the case that's going forward. You can't let him control that distance and that tempo. Man, Nassourdine has a good shot of putting that style of fight together.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a good point right there, right? Like, use all of the tape that you have on Adesanya and just break it down. Do everything that everybody has done in order to give him some fits. But that's the problem, though, man. You have to then combine yourself into 3-4 different fighters that Nassourdine Imavov just purely isn't, man. Here's one area, though, that I think can get really interesting here, and this doesn't involve too much pressure, but close that gap a little bit and trade for some pocket boxing. Yeah, I kind of think that Imavov is a better pocket boxer than Adesanya is. Do you think he can give him some fits there?
Especially in the amount of pop that Imavov has on his shots, right? Because Izzy's a technician, he's a sniper. All he needs is one perfectly placed shot to put you out. But if he's hitting you with a 3 or 4 punch combo, he's not putting everything into that, where Imavov is putting everything into the 1s and 2s, right? Just a short combo, but he hits with a lot of power. And if that's the trade that is willing to be made in the octagon, right, going toe-to-toe and actually swinging it out, I think Imavov has more power in the shots he's able to place.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Let's talk numbers on this one, man. 4.5 rounds is the over, minus 170 was the open on that line, plus 140 for the under. I think if you're an Imavov bettor, you have to bet the under. I don't think that there's a fighter on the roster in the 185-pound division that doesn't currently hold a title and who can hold Izzy down for 5 rounds that will win a decision against Israel Adesanya. I think that's a very difficult ask, even in this stage of his career, but that's where things get a little bit tricky right here. Look at these decision props, plus 165 for Izzy, plus 265 for Imavov. AJ, I'm curious, what does the path to a decision look like for Imavov? Because aside from clinching and holding against the cage, do you think he can hold Adesanya on his back for multiple rounds?
I do think Nassourdine can hold Izzy on his back for multiple rounds. I think the hardest part about that is going to be getting Izzy to a spot where he can hold him down. Yeah, he can hit a trip and then Izzy's going to sprawl, or he's able to get the body down just for a second. Mm-hmm. But if Izzy is able to pop back up instantly like we've seen, and he has good takedown defense, it's just the guys who are mauling him, who are just consistently going after it. I don't know if Nassourdine has that style of fight in him to be able to continuously go for takedowns. I think it's going to be more of a clinch battle, more of a cage battle, and controlling that pressure and cutting things off and not letting Izzy set up the traps in order to get the knockout.
For looking at numbers, 1.12 takedowns landed per 15 minutes for Imavov. This dude isn't like a high-volume takedown artist right here. My worry more than anything else is that he's able to just get to the back and take Izzy's neck. Like, that's my worry. Anything outside of that, I'm not too concerned. But the other thing that I'm looking at is championship experience, man. Izzy got it. He's the veteran. He knows what to do. And I think that there's only, like, what Strickland did with the pressure, because those are the 2 losses, right? Strickland and Duplessis, that people are like, oh, he can't handle pressure fighters, can't handle grapplers. Strickland, it was really interesting because Strickland took away the calf kick of Israel Adesanya, which I think is the foundation of his offense. I'm not sure if Imavov can take away the calf kick the same way that the marching man Sean Strickland can with just with both the legs up, you know what I mean? Doing a whole, you can't see it, folks, what I'm doing, but he brings that like that Muay Thai stance to like check that leg kick. I think that if he doesn't take it away, I think Israel Adesanya opens up and gets it done. Here's the big question, man. How does he get it done? I'm a big fan of the decision. I don't think this version of Israel Adesanya is the same hungry version that we saw against, just pre-Alex Paeta, man, where he was taking dudes' heads off when he was trying to fight Paulo Costa and dry hump him after. I don't think we see that version. I think the dude who skates to a dominant decision, a dominant one-sided decision right here for the most part, and just shows that he said it himself, man. He's the gatekeeper, even if it's a joke. He's the gatekeeper right now, and the goal is to get back to the title. What do you think?
Yeah, no, Derick, I think the smart money right there, if you're an Israel Adesanya bettor, is that decision at plus 165. Makes a lot of sense. I think he's going to go out there and want to make a show, but also put on a masterclass. Show that he still is that guy. And yeah, even though he is a gatekeeper, he's not the one holding the belt. He can still have opportunities to get the belt, and he's not going to let by an easy layup for anybody else.
Final play, the live odd right now, minus 160 Adesanya money line. You take that, or do you take the plus 165 decision? Do you take that purely over the money line?
I do actually, Derick. I think Izzy, even though he's not that young, hungry dog we've been talking about, I do think he still has the technique, kind of like how Stephen Thompson can still knock you out, but it's with all technique now. I think Izzy can still have those traps in his arsenal to be able to put the lights out. I don't know if it's going to happen, though.
Yeah, no, fair play. All right, that's the play then. Israel Adesanya, folks, this is that opportunity we talked about at the beginning of the show, where the line just looks a little mispriced based on the actual fighter that you have in front of you. So we're going the last style bender. Decision is the play. I'm going to rock with the pure money line, but if you're telling AJ, go in for that decision prop right there. Cash money. All right, AJ, but now it gets interesting because you go from...
Ready for Saturday night? Get expert breakdowns, betting tips, and exclusive bonus plays straight from the pros, Derick and AJ. Join the Bloody Water Podcast community of MMA enthusiasts on YouTube, where stats meet strategy, and fans like you win big. Being in the know means making fights more enjoyable for you and your friends. By hyping up the big moments and confidently calling outcomes, you'll be the MVP of Fight Night. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and rate us 5 stars if you listen on audio.
These big time names right here, big clashes in the middleweight divisions, is talking about, hey, Shara Bullet and MVP. What a matchup. And I forgot that MVP actually called out Magomedov. He said, hey, bro, like, I would like to fight this man. The only thing that I think some people, I'm not going to say forgot, maybe they just never took it into account, but MVP is a welterweight. You know what I mean? This dude had a grappling event for Polaris, walking around at the weight and like, I can make the weight, we'll make it happen. But he's going to be a small 185er versus Shara Bullet, who isn't the biggest 185er in the world, but I think power might be an issue here. AJ, how does it make you feel? The open, Shara Bullet minus 170, one eye and all. The man who doesn't have a ton of UFC experience, but came off of that viral double back fist, you know what I mean, knockout of the year type contender, opens up as a favorite against a dude who has a notoriously difficult style to match on the feet. What do you think about that?
Interesting, Derick. I mean, you can see the recency biases at play over here with these odds makers. Yes, Shara Bullet's an absolute savage. He has moments. He has everything going for him, right? I do genuinely believe that Shara Bullet will be the future of what the MMA sport is looking like, and probably a face of it as well. Well, we're forgetting about MVP. I mean, this guy's been doing it for years, and like you said, not many people have been able to solve that puzzle that is the Venom Page. Man, he's able to do things still to this day that people haven't quite figured out yet. And I think the only thing that's going to be stopping him here anytime soon is with the takedowns. And we all heard Shara say it. He's not going to be the one shooting takedowns this time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Nobody's figured out the puzzle of MVP who hasn't incorporated grappling, right? So in a pure tit-for-tat matchup, I can see frustration on the face of Shara Bullet trying to get in there and just not being able to be successful. Kind of the same thought process that people had for Kevin Holland, right? They're like, Kevin Holland, not as good of a striker as Shara Bullet. Shara Bullet is a legitimate expert striker right there. I just think that his style is much more kick involved. And I think that MVP, with his weird entries, is going to make him box. I think he's going to relegate him to the hands. He's going to be out of range from the, and then he's going to just stuff him in there where they can just pocket box. And who's got the better boxing? MVP, though, man, I mean, this is just the one issue that you always have. With that creative style, with that innovative style, hands are down a little bit too much for comfort. Shara Bullet hits you with one of those weird ones, you know what I mean, that you haven't seen before, and you just get caught. But what does this mean to you that MVP did say, I'm a fan of the sport before I'm an athlete, which I thought was interesting. But he also said he's been a fan of Shara Bullet, and he knows that double back fist technique, that wasn't brand new. He's been drilling that since kickboxing days, right? So clearly the man had done some homework, and I'm interested to see what he can do with the 6-inch reach advantage right there, man, 79-inch reach. Should be interesting. Give me some thoughts on how this fight actually plays out. Finish, decision, what are your thoughts?
Ooh, that's a good question, Derick. I think if it's a finish, it's a flash KO knockout, right? Somebody just gets caught, it's done. I don't think either of these guys are going to be steamrolling one or the other. I do think it'll be a back and forth, right? A chess match going forward, but two supreme strikers. I mean, both fighters in their own right can hold their own. It's who's going to be controlling in those transitional moments, right? When somebody's throwing and then you're able to hit us or able to find a corner, find an angle to be able to put something actually into motion and then snowball that effect into going. Because if you let Michael Venom Page run away with the tempo and the pressure and the awkwardness that he's able to throw out there, he can just do some work. He can literally have you just taking pictures of watching what he's doing and while you're getting pieced up. Same thing with Shara. I mean, we know that he is also very talented, and it's interesting to see that Michael Venom Page is studying him, man. I'm glad to see that because how old is MVP?
37.
37. Oh, yeah, 37. The 37-year-old, man, is a fan of the sport, looking at it like we do, taking notes, watching his opponents. He's breaking things down. He's going in there sharp.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just think this is another case of the experience, all of that. You got the 15-0 shiny prospect, Shara Bullet, man. He's coming in, he's making a wave. This is UFC Saudi Arabia. Hey, listen, I said that we're going to get into this. You have to remember, and we're going to talk about this with another matchup coming up too, man. If this goes to a decision and it's close, you have to keep into account the home game value that you get for Shara Bullet. So when you look at the line, man, -170 was the open for Magomedov, +145 comeback for Michael Page. If you look at the live odd, -190 for Magomedov, +160 for Page. So the line has not moved a lot. That means this could definitely be a close fight in the eyes of the odds makers. And if it's close in the eyes of the odds makers and to the judges, I think that we could see a lean. Just similar, folks. I don't know if anybody caught that PFL fight with Paul Hughes and Usman. Yeah, it's one of the Nurmagomedovs, man, the PFL one, right? It was one where it was a much closer fight than what the score actually was. But look at where the fight took place. Riyadh, come on, it's something to think about. So I know that's not something that we try to factor too much into it. It should just be a pure matchup, like who gets the better of who. But I do think that this is a fight right here that's also going to have popularity implications. Because what happens? MVP says it. He's like, I can make any striker a wrestler. But what happens if Magomedov takes the shot? What happens status-wise?
He drops, especially with how confident Magomedov is going in, saying that MVP is going to be the one taking shots. If Shara goes in there and does that, I do think he hurts his stock a lot, right? Now, I'm not going to say the stock plummets, but the stock drops a hefty amount going forward because he's the young gun. He's the one that's supposed to have all the bravado, the testosterone going into this. He's hungry. He wants what MVP has in, the respect of MMA. But if he's out here just switching up last second and you see him panicked and having to take shots and having to work, I do think a lot of his stardom, if you will, is going to be kind of questionable in seeing how he takes his fight because MVP is a puzzle, man.
Yeah, we'll see it, man. Let me see. Yeah, takedown defense, 75% takedown defense for MVP. So even if it does happen, imagine how embarrassing you shoot and you don't even get the shot. Yeah, that's going to be a bad one. It's kind of like Ian Gary, man. Like he won the fight, but you didn't. If you would have just stood and banged, you know what I mean? You would have got a lot more respect. So, yeah. So, all right, AJ, the play. What is the play here? We're consensus on MVP, right? We said that in the beginning of the program. But when it comes down to how this plays out, in my opinion, stylistically, I just think the puzzle has yet to be solved. The 15-0 prospect isn't going to get it done. I think MVP wins by decision, but I'm not seeing a knockout here.
I'm not seeing a knockout, Derick. It's an interesting part because I've been thinking about this since you said it, right? There's probably, and hopefully not, but there's probably going to be a little bit of hometowning going on if we see a decision right here, right? Even if it's a split decision, whatever the case. So the plus 250 decision does make a lot of sense if you're a Michael Page bettor. I'm almost more inclined to be on that money line, right? That plus 145, whatever the live odd is right now. But if Michael Venom Page can have Shara in those uncomfortable positions, right? Shara's having to shoot. Shara's having to find other ways to get things done. And then he's able to land a couple clean counters on and put a trap in. The knockout could happen. I don't think it's as likely as the decision, but hopefully those big moments lead to have the judges see how the fight actually goes down, ends up the correct winner either way.
Well, with the live odd plus 160 MVP, I don't think that's a bad price to pay whatsoever right there. I think there's a ton of juice on that line. So we'll call it consensus pick with the dog of the week. We're just going to lock it in. Dog of the week, MVP, baby. Let's go. All right, man. Moving on to the next bout here. You want to talk about somebody standing and banging. I don't think that this is even going to be a question right here. Sergey Pavlovich, man. He has written off the people, the detractors, the people who have abandoned his side after coming off of a couple rough losses, man. One to the very newly improved Alexander Volkov, which you cannot be mad at that loss. And then, of course, to the champ, Tom Aspinall, in a shootout where it could have gone anyone's way. But now you're at a crossroads where instead of fighting, think about it. I would argue four probably of like what the top prospects of the heavyweight division have been. Volkov, Aspinall, Curtis Blade, tied to Avasa kind of crept in, so he doesn't really count. But like you go from that to Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who, not going to say that he hasn't been at the top of the division because his losses, who? Jelton Almeida, Alexander Volkov, Francis Ngannou, can't be mad, right? But Rozenstruik, even though he's a little under the radar, still very good, just not to the level of these guys. So it's a reset. It's a competitional reset, right? For Pavlovich, we know what the game plan is, man. Knock him out in the first round, right? If this fight extends, that's where Rozenstruik shines as a kickboxer, like purely. That's where he could mimic the strategy of Alexander Volkov, drag the fight out, outpoint him, and just get the dub. Is that a reality that we see, or is anybody not named Tom Aspinall and Volkov pretty much getting knocked out?
It's a reality, Derick. I don't know how fruitful the reality is going to be and how many people see it. It might just be Rosenstruck and his team trying to find a path through those bombs that are going to be coming at him, man. Because, yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? Really good kickboxer, has great movement. Just we've seen him be overwhelmed with pressure and power from his opponents, and Rosenstruck I'm talking about. But if he is able to cut some angles, right, just skirt off just a little bit, we've seen how Pavlovich has that plodding forward motion, and when he's throwing with heat, so he's overextending a little bit. Rosenstruck's a talented striker, man. He can get things done. I just don't know. I always think this with Pavlovich, right? Because he's an older school style of fighter of a heavyweight, right? A little more ploddy, a little more big power. He's not really fast and agile like we're seeing with the Aspinalls and the Gons and everybody else. Even Rosenstruck kind of falls into the same category. If Pavlovich is able to avoid being cut off, right? He's able to sit there and hold on his weight a little bit and have some power going forward still. He can just maul you, man. That's the hard part about Pavlovich. He one shot and you're seeing stars. Next thing you know, you're going to sleep. It's a rough one.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. Rosenstruck, in my opinion, is at his best when he's counter-striking. But can you sit back and let Pavlovich bring the fight to you? If you can survive that first round, but you have to be able to push him back too. And that's not something that I see Rosenstruck doing in this fight. Don't get me wrong. Biggie Boy is like, hey, listen, everybody keep making me a dog. I'm going to prove you guys wrong. Like, I think he has a lot of confidence in this one. I think those losses rehumanized Sergey Pavlovich to be not this Russian crusher, right? To just be this normal heavyweight who, if he doesn't knock you out, he's a heavyweight. Everyone has a gas tank. And when that gas tank starts to deplete, it's one of the scariest things that you could possibly imagine. Or Rosenstruck drags it out and wins a decision. The line at open, minus 185 for Pavlovich, what I thought was like a nice number to get respect coming off of those couple losses. If we're looking at the live odd, though, AJ, geez, minus 320 plus a 250 comeback for Rosenstruck. So money line, you lost the value that you had on the money line, and you don't really have money line. You don't really have value in the TKO, dog. Minus 265. Jesus. All right, what's the play here, AJ?
You're looking at an over and under, Derick, and this is one of those weird ones where the under is the favorite. Right? Yeah. I was looking. Did the line switch?
No, the under, from what I'm seeing right here, is plus 105 for the under, minus 135 for the over. So the over is the favorite.
Yes. Okay. When I was looking at this earlier, man, when I was writing some odds down, they had the under as the favorite for this one. It was minus money. I forget exactly what I'm looking at or what I was looking at back then.
This was an opening line, so they definitely could have flipped by the time. Like what we're talking about right now, I'll look it up while you're talking, but I'll get the line. Go ahead.
But I'm thinking the over-under needs to be right here, right? Whichever way you're betting, that's who's going to be looking for this. And especially if you're a Pavlovich bettor going into this, no more money or no more value on the money line, no more value in the knockout, which are his two most likely ways to win. So you have to be looking at that over. And if the over is the favorite, it's kind of betting towards Jairzinho. So if you're a Pavlovich bettor, you have to go with the under on this for Pavlovich because he's plus money on that. It makes all the sense in the world.
It does. But I'm looking at the live number. And again, folks, this is a live number. So you have to get in early when these things happen, right? Minus 220, under 1.5, plus 160 for the over now. So this is a fight where AJ, I'm not going to lie to you. Unless you're betting on the dog, Rosenstruck, I stay away. I wouldn't bet on this fight. I just don't see where you could pull value from it.
I stay away. Yeah, I stay away unless you're like you said, unless you're looking for the dog play. I don't see how you can make money on this one. Maybe a parlay.
So, where it's fair is Pavlovich is getting the respect that he deserves, man. If you take away those two losses, he'd probably be a minus 800 favorite or something crazy like that. So, Pavlovich is a consensus pick right here. Heavyweight MMA, you love it, and we're looking for that early knockout. So, I'll say knockout Pavlovich under 1.5 just for like shits and giggles, but don't bet on that, folks. That's my advice to you right there. All right, AJ, Said Nurmagomedov versus Vinicius Oliveira, Loke Dog. This is an interesting matchup, but this is an interesting matchup given the context of the Nurmagomedov clan right now. And I want to talk to you about it because what we have seen 2 weeks ago at UFC 311 with Umar Nurmagomedov, how did he lose that fight? Was it a close fight? Yes, it was a close fight. But how did he lose the fight? He won the first two, and then you just got the gas put on you for the last three, and you tapered out, which happens. It's all good. You look at the Paul Hughes versus Usman Nurmagomedov. He won the fight. He got the belt. But it was close, and cardio definitely became a factor. Now you pull this into Said Nurmagomedov, and you don't look at his last one against Gafarov. You look at the fight before that against Jonathan Martinez, where he lost, right? Which is controversial. It was very controversial, right? But the gas tank was an issue. So, contextually, right? It's very easy to say the Nurmagomedovs as a whole, stock drops, you guys don't have no cardio. It's easy to say that. But when you actually assess things, Usman won for a reason. I see a similar logic here with Saeed where it's like the stock market. Everyone's down, but you see the real internal analytics of the business of the fighter and you say, no. I actually think this is a really good opportunity for Saeed Nurmagomedov to get him at a decent price. So that's my opening statement here for you for this matchup. But Loke Dog, he brings it. And he came off of that knockout of the year. Remember, Bloody Water Podcast knockout of the year. So talk to me about this matchup, brother.
Yes, so Derick. No, I'm with you on the whole Nurmagomedov stock, everything going in there. That's what you're looking at. You're starting to see a lot of chinks in their chinks, however the word is said, in the armor of the Dagestani fighters going forward, man. Like, they're no longer the boogeymen of MMA, right? We're seeing other fighters be able to get in there, do some different things. Now some losses are coming more people's way. And even though Khabib was the ultimate, right? Gas tank on deck, never faltering. Everything's going right for him. We can see the other fighters just haven't quite got to that system or that thought process or whatever the case is going into that led Khabib to be able to do that, and everybody's still riding high on those coattails. So we're starting to see a lot more of the falters coming out of those lines. But I do agree with you, Saeed, this is one of the best fights for him to be able to get back on his roll and find his way to be able to create his own name. Because I mean, as a fighter, like, this dude is absolutely killer. Amazing, right? Good striking, fast, excellent kicks, able to have grappling. Like, he is the entire package. Now the gas tank comes into issue, and that's what we're going to be able to see. Because if he is able to put the work in, especially early, can he continuously put the work in throughout the entire fight? Where we've seen his friends and compadres, falter in that aspect. And then Oliveira, man. I mean, the first note I have for him, Derick, is confident style. How can this guy not be confident when he walks in there? He's knocking people out left and right. I mean, he's wild, hands low, he's in the pocket, he's down to trade. And I think that sort of style going forward against a polished striker and fighter that is Nurmagomedov, it's going to be hard, man. It's going to be challenging to be able to withstand somebody who isn't scared of you, your fight, or even your last name. And that's Oliveira. That's Loke Dog.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. Like, at the end of the day, for Nurmagomedov, the number one thing that you can't do that he's too comfortable doing is just sitting on the back foot and counter striking. Because Loke Dog is going to walk you down, and he's going to try to pin you up against the cage and try to bring the heat. If you're looking at power, I think Oliveira has a very clear power advantage right here. I think Nurmagomedov is just better everywhere else, right? I think he's better technically, better grappling. I think he has better, sharper striking. I think he might have a speed advantage here. I just think that speed advantage sometimes, even though we say you got the phrase for me, right? Speed, timing. Go ahead. What is it?
Timing beats speed. Precision beats power.
There we go. Right. But sometimes, right, just power beats speed, man. You just hit them too hard and you can't get up. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, this can be a really intriguing matchup. I don't anticipate a ton of like I'm gonna go out and just double leg and try to get you down and try to grapple with you. I just see defensive counter grappling for Saeed Nurmagomedov. Generally, probably gonna keep this on the feet. And if you're looking at Oliveira, man, I just gotta look at the last 5 submission. You got knockout. You got the whole fucking 9, man. You got this dude Oliveira is nasty. He's nasty. He's killing it right now. He's got a lot of finishes. He's got a lot of power. But the biggest thing here is a size difference. How big do you think the size difference is gonna come into play? Because they're relatively the same size, but just because you're the same size on paper, when you see somebody in person, it could be a little bit different. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely, Derick. I forget who posted it. It was on X last fight card for 311, and they were showing the amount or percentage gain of weight that people had after the weigh-ins for the night of the fight. You're seeing Islam was at like 30%. It was wild, like crazy amounts of gains, and I think that's going to be the same thing when you're seeing Loke Dog go in there, and he's bigger now. He's swollen out. He's thick. Whereas Saeed, he tends to be that slimmer style of fighter going forward. I think size is going to play a massive role into how Vinicius Oliveira is going into this fight, because he's going to want to be the bully. He's going to want to put the pressure on him, and he's not going to want to give Saeed space in order to start being the technician that Nurmagomedov is.
I got 2 plays for this matchup right here that kind of allude to what you're mentioning here, man. One is, I think that if Vinicius Oliveira gets a little too prideful, a little bit too confident, I think that submission prop is definitely in play. Plus 335 for Saeed Nurmagomedov right there. But I do think this is a really good spot to hedge for Vinicius Oliveira if you're confident on that side. I think what we're doing right here for the consensus pick on Nurmagomedov is fading the narrative about the Nurmagomedovs as a whole, because they're all individuals. You can't judge them as a group. It's not how it works, right? But I do think that Oliveira's stock is really high right now, and plus 135 is indicative of how people feel about him. Because otherwise, as you had mentioned literally 2 weeks ago, holding the name Nurmagomedov oftentimes majorly inflates your stock in the eyes of the odds makers, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is one of the more fair lines we've seen come out, and it could be another recency bias thing we're saying, where we've seen a couple of them falter, so now not everybody has them on the golden pedestal. I mean, Said can easily change that narrative right back again and have himself sitting nice and pretty.
That's it. So consensus pick, Said Nurmagomedov. Like I said, folks, live odd, minus 160 right now. I love that one. And if you're looking at the over 2.5, minus 155 was the opening line for that one. If we're looking at what it is currently right now, we're looking at minus 145 over 2.5, plus 115 under. I think the finish, I mean, that's the thing. I think he could snatch up a submission. I think Lokdog can knock him out. But I think the over is probably going to be a good play right there. You in consensus?
I think the over is the safe play right here, Derick. And if you're looking for an actual prop, I mean, the plus 150 decision is always safe, especially for a technician. But I like that plus 335, Derick. I'm with you.
All right, fair enough. Last bout, or I guess I should say opening bout. I told you it was one of those quick flip type situations, but the Smile Killer. They said, hey, you and Mike Davis, come on to this main card and open this thing up, man. This is going to be a fun fight, bro. The Smile Killer's coming off that vicious knockout of the year contender against Matt Favola. And then Mike Davis, man. I mean, what is there to say about Mike Davis? He's unknown to a lot of people. Natan Levy, that submission victory right there, fantastic. You got to win over Slava Claus. Come on, brother. And besides that, man, he just hasn't competed a lot. I think he's had some injury issues, layoffs, just a lot of different problems in that area. Again, I said it in the beginning of the show. Mike Davis is your favorite fighter's favorite prospect. The dude who you know has all the skills to put it together. He just needs to be in there, stay away from the injuries. Ziam on the other side is a guy who I feel like people are trying to fade, but he just keeps winning. But they're trying to fade him, but he won't stop winning. And indicative of that, man, nice 4-fight win streak. You know what I mean? Both of these dudes 4-1 in their last 5. I think that the real path here for Ziam is kickboxing, and if you're Mike Davis, you got to grapple and kickbox, but you got to grapple. And I think the wrestling comes into key here. What do you think?
I think the wrestling, especially for Mike Davis, is going to come into key, and the defensive wrestling guy for Ziam, that's going to be one of the things. He has such a dangerous clinch, but the issue with having such a dangerous clinch and being that tall, anytime you're throwing knees or getting in that close, the other guy can easily grab your leg, shoot a takedown. So I think with the style that Mike Davis has, right, the pressure style of fighter, powerful all around, he's going to have the strength advantage going into this against Ziam. Ziam just needs to be able to maintain that range, do everything that Ziam is good at, and avoid having to have the space crushed in the octagon, right? You hit the corners, hit the circles, sit on your bike, maintain that range, and just pick him apart. And the interesting thing, Derick, I have noted, man, like Faraz, he will pick you apart, but he's also down to stand and trade. So I'm curious to see what version of him is going to be going in there, right? Will it be the Favola where he's down to clinch you up and put some knees to your face, or will he be sitting back, actually hanging out and letting Mike Davis work himself into a trap?
Well, that's the key right there, because I'm normally a super big Ziam. I'm a Ziam fan, don't get me wrong, but in this matchup, I think his frame and his length is actually going to work against him, because I think he needs that space to be effective, because he's a more technical striker than Mike Davis. I think Mike Davis is way more power. He's way more just kind of like an athletic specimen. Ziam will pick you apart if you give him that space, but I think Davis is going to crush the space, and if you're not in the clinch, it's like the distance between not being in the clinch but not being at kicking range and at the end of your shot, being just like right there to just crunch you up and say, what's up, let's get it, hop in there, grab a takedown, come back up, make it a washing machine fight almost, or just major control off of the first takedown that he gets. So that's where I see it. It's just a matter of how does the pressure work and can you sustain the pressure? My biggest problem with Mike Davis, to be frank with you, is just inactivity. You know what I mean? Like, I can trust Ziam as a product because you just see him more often. Mike Davis, the last time that you saw him, big win against Natan Levy, like I said. But a lot of people were counting him out for this matchup because of the same exact reason prior. Like, we just haven't seen you. So I don't think that there's much to this matchup other than interesting that Ziam gets the Mike Davis treatment after that knockout. You think that he would have got like a more, like you go from Matt Favola, who's like a perennial in and out of the rankings, to Mike Davis, who is the guy with no name value, but really scary in a fight. So my pick is Mike Davis, man. And it's for all of those reasons that I just alluded to. The grappling, just the blue chip prospect that he is, in my opinion. But he is a little bit older here, AJ. Let's check the ages right here. 31 for Mike Davis, 27 for Ziam. So we'll see how it goes down. Give me your thoughts on this matchup.
Yeah, Derick, I think this is going to be a very close fight, but I'm rolling with the smile killer. I'm rolling for Ziam, man. And specifically because I think he's going to be able to do more in the little moments in those transitions, right? Because I do think Davis is going to put the pressure on him, but Faraz is going to be able to find those moments to skirt out, either do some damage while he's on the inside and then make him pay and then skirt out and get back to business. That's where I think Faraz is going to have success in this fight. I like him. He's the favorite going into this one. If I'm looking at it, though, if I'm looking at the props, at the plus 550 TKO, it's just a little too hard for me, or a little too out of reach, if you will, because in order to be able to get those knockouts, you're going to have to put yourself in danger, and that's where Mike Davis does best. I like the decision plus 225. Makes some sense to me.
Well, I will say that 2.5 minus 145 for the over, plus 115 for the under. Currently, minus 275 for the over, plus 200 for the under. So people are liking a decision here. Are you liking a finish, or are you liking a distance play?
I'm liking a distance play. Still with the decision, I think that's Faraz's best route to a victory right here, or at least safest route to a victory, most technical. I mean, he's an underdog now, though, so we could play either way.
That's right. All right. Folks, that's your main card breakdown right there, but the best is yet to come. Next up, if you're familiar with the program, bonus plays. Let's line it up.
And now, the Bloody Water Podcast presents your Fight Night bonus plays.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay down the laws of the land here. 4 plays are up for grabs here. AJ is the arbiter of truth. He will assess these 4 plays and then give us an official prop for UFC Saudi Arabia. Official play, I should say. Bonus play. Exclusive here. You're not going to get this anywhere else. All right, AJ, let's get it. So, for the bonus plays, first up, and we've already talked about this a little bit, but give me your thoughts. Sergey Pavlovich, Jairzinho Rozenstruik over 1.5 rounds. The number at the time was plus 170. And let me just do another quick check-in really quickly to see where we're at right now. And yeah, plus 160 now. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, this one is all based on history and patterns, Derick. I mean, when unders are the plus money, they don't hit, right? Hoping Rozenstruik has the skills not to get steamrolled in the first round. That's how this one makes it to that over, especially at plus money. I like it. I mean, I'm not saying we're pulling the trigger on it, but I can see how in a world this happens.
Heavyweight overs. It's a dangerous play, depending on the matchup. We actually do have a heavyweight over on this one. Anyways, all right, next up, man. Hey, we didn't talk about this, but this is a great opportunity to talk about this matchup. Mayra Bueno Silva, Chitara. She dropped down from 135 after a lost championship bid. Goes down to 125 and unfortunately has to fight probably one of the best fighters in the division right now, Jasmine Jasvidicius. AJ, Mayra Bueno Silva has a dog pick. The play officially was Bueno Silva at plus 195. The odds now plus 215 for Chitara right here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like it, Derick. I mean, yes, Jasvidicius is on an absolute roll right now, but when faced with top-tier opposition, she's faltered a little bit in the past. We've seen some holes that have developed or at least been exploited in the Jasvidicius fight style. Also, side note, this one's a little interesting, Derick. Mayra Bueno Silva, since being popped for the juice, hasn't had a win since that fight. So let's hope she can get back to her winning ways, legally, whatever the case is, but she's cutting down, so maybe she's going to be looking stacked.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, this is one of those ones where I just don't like the matchup, but I see where you're coming from, man. Like, listen, well, look at what she was able to do at 135. What do you think she'll do at 125? The problem is her cardio didn't last for longer than like 2 rounds at 135. So at 125, I don't know. But that's one of the plays. All right, next up, we have Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, versus Nassourdine Imavov, plus 285 for the TKO prop. And AJ, let me just line it up to see where we're at right now. For the TKO, plus 350 now for the style bender. So you got a lot of juice on here.
A lot of juice on here, folks. If Izzy's been talking about it. He's hungry. Yes, he's the gatekeeper, but he's going to be going in there looking to make a statement. And if he's not going to put on a masterclass, he's going to be looking for the finish. He's going to be looking to reignite himself as that dog, as that guy that is hungry again, coming up for the belt. I can see Izzy luring Imavov into a standing and trading battle and then sitting back and hitting a counter shot, just sniping him out from the gate, and we'll see. But, I mean, I like this play, especially at, what'd you say, plus 315? Wild.
Plus 350. 350 right there. Yeah, that's a big time. All right, AJ, I got one more to throw at you. Then we'll pick the bonus play of the week right here. Mohamed Naimov versus, forgive me again, Khan Ofli. Listen, brother, get a good win. I promise I'm gonna remember how to pronounce the name. But the fight, or the play, I should say, is for the fight to go the distance. The odd originally was -115. Currently tracking -140 for yes to go the distance. Give me your thoughts.
This one is interesting, Derick, because when I looked at it initially on the open, the over was -175. So still better than the current goes distance right now. Get this in before the line starts moving, folks, because a lot of people are looking at this current live for the distance. We just said it, -140, but we're looking for an extra 2.5 minutes because it was 2.5 rounds. So we're just a little bit more time, especially with how dangerous these fighters are. Jump on this while it's still low.
Yeah, there's going to be a heavy grappling matchup right here. I mean, I did my homework on it because it was on the main card and I got bumped off. But heavy grappling matchup can definitely go long right here. I think that's definitely value play. But AJ, you were the person who's going to determine what is the value play of value plays for UFC Saudi Arabia. And I'll tee it up. Drumline, sir, drum roll. Now let's go. What you got?
The line this week, Derick, we're going Mohamed Naimov versus Khan Ofli. Going the distance, -140. I was looking, I won't lie to you, Derick. I was looking at that Bueno Silva money line. I might put some of my own cash on that one on the side. But for the official bonus play, folks, we're going for the distance. Naimov versus Ofli.
That's fair. I can't be mad. Next time we got to do it in a different order because that was anticlimactic. But folks, you got the play and that's what matters right there. All right, man. Next up, let's not mince any words. Next section, sleepers. Let's talk about it.
Time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up. You got a good sleeper. I got a good sleeper. We're gonna talk about it. It's been a mix-up. It's been a whole bunch of craziness right here. AJ, open it up, brother. Bogdan Grad versus Lucas Alexander at featherweight. Talk to the people.
5, folks. If you don't know, make sure you pay attention. Bogdan Grad, powerful striker, down to mix it up, likes to stand and bang, likes to be the bully in there. Then he's going up against Lucas Alexander, more tenured in the UFC, but still need to find his moment to be known, right? Not a lot of people are know who Lucas Alexander is, but he's long, he's rangy, he will keep that long distance and look to counter strike. Man, this is an interesting one. 14 combined finishes, only 3 of those, folks, by submission. Make sure you grab your drinks before this fight starts. It can end quick. It can be entertaining the entire time. Don't miss it.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a fun matchup. Alexander, even though he's coming off of that loss to Sadeghi, forgive me for mispronouncing that one. Listen, man, he was so hyped up. I think he was a major favorite in that matchup right here. So I think this is going to be a bounce back performance. That should be a fun one. Folks, I'm not going to lie to you. My sleeper originally was Faraz Ziam and Mike Davis, but it got moved to the main card, so I had to scramble. I had to get something for you, and it was slim pickings this week. Folks, I'm going heavyweights. This is a sleeper because this is a great fight. Maybe. It could also be an actual snoozer. But Hamdi Abdelwahab versus Jamal Pogues right here. Heavyweights. Listen, you got an Egyptian wrestler who's going to come and bring it. Bring the pace. You don't see this dude. You only see him at like UFC Saudi Arabia events. You never see him outside of that. 5-0 in MMA. A lot left on the bone that we have yet to discover from him. But I think it'll be interesting because Jamal Pogues is a technical striker. Sit, counter strike, stand, bang. If he gets taken down, I'm interested to see if he gets up. And if he doesn't get up, he's probably getting submitted or knocked out. But if the fight stays standing, we could definitely see a knockout. Because a heavyweight who shoots multiple shots, who doesn't get it, gets tired fast. And I'll tell you, because I was training the other night, I thought I was going to die the other night shooting too many takedowns, not getting them, because that's the reality gas tank. It makes all of us mortal. So that is your sleeper right there, folks. It was an alternate, but a sleeper nonetheless. And AJ, opening the bout. So there's one of 2 reasons for that. And you know that it's either because it's a banger or because it's a heavyweight snoozer and they got to just get it out the way before, all the fun fights happen. But folks, that was your sleeper section, the unknowns of today, the stars of tomorrow. If you made it to this section of the program, congratulations, because we have something special here to conclude the program. Here, want to give you the friendly reminder. You want to be featured on the program. You want to get your question answered. Well, it's mailbag time. You could drop a comment. You could hit us up on social media. You could email us, whatever works best for you. But AJ, we got a mailbag and we got a couple of questions to ask. All of them related to UFC Saudi Arabia or something to do with like UFC Fight Week this week. But I'm going to knock off a couple and let's have it. The first one, because there's a couple of weird usernames here, so if I mispronounce, apologies. Malix, right here. AJ, Shara Magomedov spinning back fist KO was nuts, but MVP striking is a whole different puzzle. Does Shara Bullet risk getting memed by MVP, or does he just wrestle him into oblivion? Kind of like the take that we were having earlier, man. Like, does he wrestle? Does he do it? Does he just disregard all the things that we've been saying and just get the win? Or is he going to get put on a highlight reel? Is he going to get memed by MVP?
I don't know if he's going to get memed by MVP, Derick. I mean, well, maybe we'll see the Pikachu ball come out or the Pokemon ball come out again for MVP, but I do think, or I should say, I don't see Shara shooting in this fight. As smart as it is for him to be shooting in this fight, I don't see it happening. I see him sticking to his guns, looking to find a highlight reel, especially against the highlight reel. This is going to be interesting. If he shoots, man, I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow, and Shara's going to look horrible.
I think that there's going to be at least like 5 or 10 taunts from MVP in this fight, mid-fight, like while they're striking, where he does something, hits a dance on them, the whole nine. And I think that'll be really interesting, man, because Shara Bullet strikes you as a guy who doesn't really play around, and doing it in Saudi Arabia is also, big on respect, I believe, in that culture. So it'll be interesting to see. But I do think someone's getting memed, for sure. I don't think you can have an MVP fight and not get memed. So, Malix, that's your answer. AJ, Guts 4 Drunk. Sergey Pavlovich's last 2 losses were to Aspinall and Volkov. If he loses here, does he get demoted to gatekeeper status, or is heavyweight so thin that he's still 1 win away from a title shot? That's actually a really good question, because I kind of tend to go with the latter part. I think heavyweight is still so thin right now, man. I think all the real athletes, the people who should be in heavyweight right now, they're all NFL players. They're all getting paid the big bucks. So what we have right now is light heavyweights who are going to start taking over 265, and I think anybody can get a title shot at any point, really, right now. What do you think?
I agree, Derick. I mean, we're going to see a lot of people weighing in at 230, just naturally their own weight, fighting in heavyweight now. But it's interesting because, yes, I mean, the entire way the question's phrased, it's all correct. Because if he loses, Sergey Pavlovich loses his fight, he is absolutely a gatekeeper. Right now, Jairzinho's that gatekeeper, and he's going to hold it right open for him. But if he wins, I can totally see a world where everybody's clamoring for Pavlovich to get his shot. Those other losses were for Gazy, right? Like, he's the mauler. He's back to being that Russian just brawler going forward. I can see it happening.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that's heavyweight for you. All right, send her home 21. Yeah, okay. This is it. Almabayev is out. AJ, breaking news. Almabayev is out, and now Urseg gets Moreno in Mexico City. So, forgive me because I don't remember Almabayev's first name, but Steve Urseg was slated to fight this dude, this Kazakhstanian killer or wherever he's from, and now he gets Brandon Moreno in Mexico City, which seems like a double-edged sword for Urseg because, one, shit, you're fighting a former champion, but at the same time, shit, you're fighting a former champion, bro. Like, title implications. The remainder of the question is, Urseg's riding a 2-fight skid and can get back to a title shot with a dominant win, right? I guess that's the question, AJ, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially because how much hype Ursig had going into the Pantoja fight. If he's able to put up a killer performance against Moreno, a lot of people are just going to be saying that was an off night for Ursig and he needs to fight Pantoja again for the belt. So if Ursig is able to do that, man, especially in Mexico City, that's going to be an absolute statement. And for sure, his name is going to be in the ring.
This is bad for the flyweight division, though, now that I'm thinking about it. Because if Urseg wins, awesome, great. But if Moreno wins, you just killed another prospect, man. Like Pantoja it sucks because it happens so frequently, but it's like the Shevchenko, like the Amanda Nunez. It's like you kill, or featherweight, even with Volk. It's like you kill all of the prospects. Volk was like, Holloway, stop beating all my prospects, bro. I got to fight one of these dudes, So I think it could be a similar situation. All right, next up, we got a couple more good ones. My new alt account 3. Terrence McKinney's fights last an average of 90 seconds. That's true. If he knocks out Hadzovich in under a minute, does Dana slap him on the pay-per-view opener forever, or will his chinny defense keep him stuck on the prelims? So this is talking about the matchup against Terrence McKinney and Damir Hadzovic, who we have not seen in quite some time. So he has been away for a little while. But yeah, man, if he knocks him out, highlight reel McKinney, or what is the second part of the question? Will his chinny defense keep him stuck on the prelims? I don't know. What do you think?
I can see the former part of this question, Derick. If he's able to KO Hadzovic in under a minute, Dana White will definitely slap him on pay-per-view opener for sure. Get the crowds hyped, get everybody excited, make everybody want to see the rest of the fights that are going to be there. But I don't think he's going to be relegated to the prelims indefinitely unless he just keeps getting knocked out, right? Like unfortunately for T-Rex, he's had a rough go, but he has all the makings and the ability to give other people the rough go. He just hasn't had that, and this is this fight, man. This is the one where he's able to get back into his winning ways. Yeah, I mean, I hope we don't see T-Rex stuck on the prelims because, yeah, he is a bit chinny now.
Speaking of that, his TKO props plus 165 if you want to bet that. I mean, maybe you got yourself a play, but don't discount Damir Hadzovic, man, just because you haven't seen the man in a while. I'll just put that out there. All right, man. Username 443392. How creative. All right. Mayra Buena Silva stock is down. If she loses to Jasmine, is the UFC cutting her, or does her name value keep her around for one more shot? Dang. I mean, I never looked at Bueno Silva as like in that territory of getting cut. So I think it's pretty safe to say even with a loss at a new weight class, she should be fine. Yeah, I don't know. This isn't a great question. So what do you think, AJ?
I think she's fine. I think with the whole rebranding of going down, even though she's going to be on a 3-fight loss streak, if she loses this fight, I don't see them getting rid of that many women UFC fighters back to back to back, right? Like we've seen a couple that have faded off into the sunset, a couple that aren't really fighting around anymore. But as far as how deep the division is, I don't see them wanting to lose more talent before they get more in.
Yeah, I mean, some people are retiring and all of that good stuff, but I think she has enough name value to keep her for a title challenger. You know what I mean? Like, come on. All right, 443392. We're just gonna move on. All right, stay blessed, happy man is our last question here. AJ Shamil Gaziev, he's ranked number 14 at heavyweight. If he smashes Peterson, does he leapfrog into the top 10, or is the division's ranking system just a glorified lottery at this point? I actually think that's a really good point because I have felt that way about heavyweight. I think they're assigning rankings to some of these dudes for just no reason, just to have a number, which is like whatever. But again, alludes back to the last question of is it just thin or whatever? And yeah, I think it is. Gaziev, if he smashes Peterson, does he leapfrog into the top 10? AJ, I'm not going to lie to you. I think that is a real possibility. I don't think it's warranted, but I think it's a possibility. What do you think?
Unfortunately, I agree with you, Derick, and I agree with stay blessed, happy man, because, it seems like especially as of late, and we all know Uncle Dana has a problem with it, the rankings just kind of seem to be whatever the guy wakes up on Monday and puts together for Tuesday's release. Because, I just don't see how, and like you said, like you alluded to, the depth chart of the heavyweights is not that deep. So, is there 15 fighters that anybody can name off the top of their head that are in heavyweight? Shamil Gaziev is going to make the cut,
Yeah. No, that's fair right there. And I mean, it's even a better point if you look at Eileen Perez, her fight against Carol Hossa 2 weeks ago, man. She was lower in the rankings, beat Hossa, and ended up still lower in the rankings. So it's like, what does it mean? What are we doing? I don't know, man. But folks, that is your mailbag for UFC Saudi Arabia. Like I said, if you want to be featured, reach out to us. We'll feature your question on the show. We need to filter these a little bit better because some of those were, you know what I mean? But we encourage nonetheless. Hey, listen, next week you have UFC 312, big implications. So we'll see you then. AJ, that's the program.
That's the program, folks. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be a fun weekend.